situation. But let's just have a look at this one from CNN Health. Unvaccinated people are variant factories, infectious disease expert says. So let's have a look and see what he does say. He says, this is Dr. William Schaffner, a professor in the Division of Infectious Diseases at Vanderbilt University Medical Center. And he told CNN on Friday, unvaccinated people are potential variant factories. The more unvaccinated people there are, the more opportunities for the virus to multiply. When it does, it mutates, and it could throw off a variant mutation that is even more serious down the road. So the question is this true? What actually drives mutations stroke variants? And the answer to that is antibodies drive mutations. But the problem is, sorry, I can't remember his name, but the problem is for CNN here that it's the vaccinated that have higher levels of antibodies. So here is News Medical Life Sciences, Medical Life Sciences News perhaps, higher levels of antibodies from COVID-19 mRNA vaccine compared to natural SARS-CoV-2 infection. And let's have a look and see what this paper says. Comparing the antibody levels between those who had a natural infection and those who were vaccinated, the authors found that the anti-RBD levels in vaccinated individuals varied widely, from being similar to those infected naturally to almost 20 times more compared to natural infection. Now, this causes two problems. First of all, it specializes in the vaccinated, the immune system, which means that if variants come along, they may be more susceptible to them. But more than that, this suggests very strongly that it's the vaccinated that are the variant factories, not the unvaccinated. Let's have a look at this one. Multiple SARS-CoV-2 variants escape neutralization by vaccine-induced humoral immunity. And there's humoral immunity, by the way, is antibody immunity. And there's plenty of scientific literature which suggests its variant escape comes via the vaccinated, not the unvaccinated. Then we've got this video, which I suggest people have a look at and watch carefully. This is the Rockefeller University and COVID-19 virtual discussions with genuine experts is how they bill it. And if you search on YouTube for SARS-CoV-2 vaccines and variants, it's Richard P. Lifton is the interviewer, and Paul Bieniash is the professor talking about this. And he was talking about taking antibodies from a vaccinated person, putting them in a petri dish, and being able to generate all the variants that we've already seen, plus a number of variants that haven't been seen yet in the wild. So really, this headline is not real. It is fake, and we probably should remove the "un" from the word unvaccinated, and remove infectious disease expert says, because of course no infectious disease expert has said this on CNN at least. And the headline should probably be vaccinated people are variant factories. But the key point here is that if we look at what's going on, the variants, if we look at the Delta variant at the moment, which is becoming much more prevalent, but it is resulting in much fewer hospitalizations. And David, the problem is that in the mainstream press, we're seeing a story that the reason that there are much fewer hospitalizations from the Delta variant is because the link between infection and hospitalization has been broken by the vaccines. But unfortunately, at this point, if we look at the cases, the line, the graph for cases and case numbers, we see that this year there has been exactly the same fall off in cases come April, May time as we saw last year. And so the question is, if vaccination was the result of, is the cause of the reduction in case numbers in 2021, what caused the reduction in case numbers in 2020?
That's an excellent question. And of course, we know, because they've told us, that most of the models they're using to model and decide and predict how many lives they're saving or costing and decide what to do don't actually include seasonality in the model makeup, which is incredible for a seasonal respiratory illness. It just makes no sense whatsoever.
Unless you've got a prior narrative you want to present.
Yeah,
I couldn't possibly suggest
that. Unless the truth is not what you're after. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. We just add that UK Column's been able to speak to two leading world experts recently, Anne-Marie Yim and Dr. Harvey Seligman, and they've been telling us exactly what Mike's just put across in that segment, that the real danger for the variants is originating from vaccinated people. But this type of opinion in the scientific community is being heavily and pretty viciously suppressed at the moment.
Yes. Now, if you like what the UK Column does and you would like to support us, then please head over to ukcolumn.org/community, and there are options for you to join us there. That would be very much appreciated. And also do share our material on the various platforms as that progresses. Now,
many of our audience have been telling us about an article which appeared in the Times on Saturday, which we're just going to bring up on screen. This was the banner headline and the opening picture. And there was a modest length article talking about the UK Column and other matters. We're going to say today that we're actually taking legal advice. We may comment on this in the future. But at the moment, we don't want to prejudice any possible future legal action. So we're going to limit our comment today, but we are going to say thank you very much to everybody that flagged up the article. And we've certainly taken note of your comments with respect to that Times article.
Well, that was on Saturday, but today the BBC has published this. Mariana Spring, there she is, has been very busy. And here is her report on where is the anti-lockdown movement headed. So we have a little excerpt from this, and we'll get David's comments afterwards, but this is a slight edit of what she has released.
What do I think is going on? It's a global reset.
Take the mask off! It's a nefarious agenda to strip away our freedom.
Even though the UK is opening up, a recent protest against COVID restrictions attracted thousands, frustrated at the slow pace of the return to normality. Placards talked about opposition to lockdowns and their impact on the economy and mental health, as well as to so-called vaccine passports and criticism of government ministers. All of these are legitimate areas for discussion, but have become muddled in with extreme conspiracy theories promoted at the protest and shared on messaging apps like Telegram, where the march was organised. We spoke to two protesters ahead of the march. Graham and Kate live miles apart. They have different jobs.
I work with property.
I'm studying a psychology degree.
What they share is a belief that the pandemic is part of a more sinister plot to limit our freedoms. Like many, they are critical of the government and lockdowns. But these views have proven a gateway into more extreme beliefs about the pandemic, shared repeatedly on social media channels that they've joined. Experts studying these online movements are concerned about the legacy that they might leave.
Sadly, for a lot of people, it's very difficult to get out of these kind of worldviews and ideologies once you're in them. That's not just because you're surrounded by that disinformation day in and day out, but also because it becomes your social network and your community. So we certainly need to be aware not just of the disinformation angle here, but also of the extremism angle and the effect that might have both on the targets of extremist groups, so minority communities or those who are vulnerable to attack, but also more broadly to the radicalisation to violence that we might see alongside that.
As the UK moves towards the next phase of the pandemic, several issues are up for debate. But for Graham, Kate, and many in these crowds, this has become about more than COVID-19.
So there you go, David. The anti-lockdown community is a gateway drug, effectively. So they are the marijuana. We're heading towards the,
Crack
cocaine and so on. But what are your thoughts on this? I mean, I have to say, I didn't come across a single person during the demonstration in London the other weekend who was in any way expressing violent extremist thoughts or feelings. So I'm not clear how the anti-lockdown movement is heading towards violent extremism.
No, that was an outstanding piece by the BBC. I liked a bit when he said thousands, right? So there was hundreds of thousands of people there. So at the very least, she's taken the true total of the people who actually turned out for the protest down by about 99%. So that's quite interesting. There was one person that they blurred out. I think it was Piers Corbyn. I don't know why they did that, but it looked like Piers Corbyn. But they had put his face behind an obscure patch on the video. Yes, and then we get this bizarre thing. I mean, they talked about this gateway, but of course, the two people they interviewed didn't give any indication of extreme views. So this gateway idea has come completely from the BBC. It doesn't have any foundation in truth. We were at that march. It was extremely good natured. It was extremely warm and friendly. And even when coming up to people who might be viewed as authority figures like the police, everything I saw, all the interactions I saw were friendly there as well. Sometimes maybe a little bit mocking, sometimes some humor, but nothing extreme. So this just appears to be a lie. Radicalization towards violence. I honestly don't know what she's talking about.
Well, look, there was one.
I've not seen it.
Right. There was one. Sorry, David, hold on. Hold on, because I've got one thing I want to before you give me a final thought. I was one thing I want to run by you, right? Because the expert they had on there, whose name escapes me at the moment, said that once you get into these thoughts, you're having these thoughts and these ideological positions, it's very difficult to get out again of these mindsets. And that's particularly the case when you're in a community and the community is effectively reflecting the same thoughts and mindsets back to you. And what occurred to me, David, is that sounds a bit like the BBC.
Well, yes, it is. It's accusing your opponents of that which you are guilty. Yes, that's definitely correct. And also, I thought that the point about once people are in this, it's difficult for them to leave, shows maybe a concern there by the authorities that once people are no longer buying their propaganda, they'll never buy it again. Once they realise, we ask questions and then the answers are incoherent, I don't believe these people, I don't trust these people anymore. Once people find that out for themselves, they're very unlikely to go back to trusting the state and trusting the BBC and trusting the government, because the state, the BBC and the government have proven themselves to be not worthy of the trust. So once the trust is lost, it's probably lost on a permanent basis unless there's a big change in the government, the BBC and the authorities, and there's no sign of that. The final point I want to make is the comment about extremism was then made as they cut to a shot of two people carrying Union flags. So this is again demonization of patriotism of anyone who loves the country that we saw all the time during the Brexit campaign and the Brexit debates. That if you think that Britain is worth looking after, if you think that Britain is something special and that's something that you love, then you're a horrible, nasty, right-wing extremist with violent tendencies. That seems to be the BBC's view. It's obviously not based in reality, but I thought that little bit of editing was quite telling.
Yeah. Well, an email came in to UK Columns saying that the Freedom March last weekend looked great. We're wondering when the next one is, as would like to attend, to which we say, we don't organise the marches, so we rely on our audience to tell us when these events are going to take place. But we are very happy to say that they are of great importance, and probably if the numbers could be doubles, that would be very beneficial.
But the one place to go would be the Stand Up X website.
Indeed.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll wait to hear more back from our audience. We just wanted to do a little reminder about the BBC, because back on the 30th of June, we were talking about this reporter, Frankie McCamley, who was basically misleading the audience over the big protest in in London. This was the start of it. It didn't matter your cause. All groups mixed and charted alongside each other. Well, actually, they didn't. There was one big and distinct demonstration. But she said thousands came to Regent Street, bringing